4 beautiful women. The mommy's boy.
Hello, Ma. Can you imagine the junk Becca's made me for breakfast? Do you know the ratio of men to women in Ghana? It is 1 man to every 6 women.
The faithful married man.
This is your 40th birthday. You just need to let your hair down and have some fun.
I'm sorry if I'm disappointing you. I will not cheat on my wife.
The annoying ex-husband.
I want to see my son.
Alam is already in school. You'll see him over the weekend. Now go.
My wife here is a good cook.
Ex-wife.
You must be Alam's father.
ABN presents Escapade.
Next time you're sent on an adult job, drop your diapers and bring back an adult result.
Escapades. The real stories begins on Fifi Banson TV.
And welcome to another edition here of Unlimited Sports right here on Fifi Banson TV, the channel that you can't stop watching. All you need to do is to just go straight onto YouTube or to Facebook and then just subscribe to the channel, and then you begin to see all the beautiful contents that we put there. Today on Unlimited Sports, we're talking the migration to Saudi Arabia. What is the Saudi people, what are they trying to do to the leagues of the world? Moving everybody into Saudi. And the best thing is they're putting the best money at the disposal of these players. And we know the players have lifespans, which definitely they want to take advantage of. The latest addition to the revolution is Neymar, who just joined them for a whooping sum of money. But we're looking at the valuation of these players and exactly how much we think they indeed are worth right here on this channel. Today, my very special guest is Neil Armstrong Motagwe. He's a consultant to FIFA, as well as somebody who has been there right from the trenches of football. He's found himself everywhere. He used to be a House of Folk chairman, and we're looking forward to the day Neil will become the FA president. It's something that should be in the West. Yusuf Tita will join us also later on. He's in the UK. He's also very much into player management and all of that. He'll join us later on as the show goes. So Neil, good to have you here. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you. It's been a while.
Yes, it's been a while. Yeah. When I saw you, I said, is it like you put on weight or you've lost weight or which one?
Well, those who've been monitoring me over the last, say, 5 years will tell you that, yes, I was at a certain level. I added on and I've dropped a bit again.
So the pot belly is coming down.
Oh, it's significantly down.
Good to see you, bro. Good to see you.
Yes, good to see you too.
We're looking at the Saudi migration.
Yes.
We're looking at the valuation of players. You have worked with players. You have worked with clubs from the FIFA level to every point of football.
Yeah.
The question is, are you surprised at what the Saudis are doing?
No, I'm not surprised at what they're doing. Well, I'll say yes and no to your question. The yes side is I'm not surprised because if you watch what the United Arab Emirates started doing some years ago, they would typically look, especially in Europe and other parts of the West or the more developed leagues of our world, and pick players who were sort of getting to the twilight of their careers and use their aura, use the achievements that they would have achieved over time to lure them to the UAE, and by so doing hopefully get some rub-off effect from those players as sort of quasi-teachers or trainers on the field of play to their up-and-coming Emirati players. So then China also chimed in and started doing a similar thing. But most of them will be taking players who were sort of getting to declining or peak and were about getting on the decline side. And it more or less added value to the league. Qatar also a case in point. Prior to the FIFA World Cup, once they had been awarded, you saw them also bringing in those kinds of players. The likes of Xavi and Co went to Qatar. Dede Ayew, our own captain, also went to Qatar. So for them, more when you look at the studies that have been done about the why, the purpose, the concept behind it is about getting those players to come and enrich their leagues, add value, bring more eyeballs, and make it more commercially viable. But the biggest attraction is about getting eyeballs in there. And also, for especially the Arab world, majority of the Arab, not all of them, but primarily that's what Qatar, who had some human rights issues. Saudi Arabia have had similar commentary run about the things, some of the things that have happened. One of the most celebrated, not I won't say celebrated, one of the most widely spoken about was the killing of Jamal Khashoggi. Okay, so it's in my assessment, it's a way of getting positive vibes around the country. And so you find them investing not only in football, they're also investing in Formula One, they're investing in golf. I think there's a live golf that's created so much disruption. And so what Saudi Arabia are doing is very disruptive of various industries. All right? They had women's boxing happening in Saudi Arabia. And so with a lot of the commentaries you see from the Western world, they're calling it sports washing. It's using sports to more or less create a nicer image about the country. And that's why I said I'm not surprised that they're doing it. What I'm surprised about is the kinds of players that they are luring to their league. These are players who you would ideally expect to want to remain in Western Europe especially, you know. But look at, Kante, who was a couple of years ago, the mainstay of Chelsea, mainstay of Leicester City, he goes. You just mentioned Neymar. Neymar. How old is he? 31. And Neymar 35, 36 going in that direction wouldn't have surprised me. And Neymar 31 has surprised me. They made a pitch for Messi. All right, he at 35 going on 36, still very vibrant, still very impactful. Look at what he's doing in the USA. So, but Messi, I still don't know why he didn't go, because the money was good. But I reckon that there's some other considerations.
He didn't want to go to where Ronaldo was.
Probably, so that it has become a CR7 versus a Messi thing all over again. You know, Ronaldo was, I think for the Saudi, let's call it migration, Ronaldo is the most prominent first name that went in that direction. So that's the yes side is what I've just described. The no side is, look, football, sports has a way of drawing positive vibes to any community if it's done well. And I think with the kind of monies that Saudi Arabia are commanding, it's not surprising that they have been able to get those kinds of players. I think there was a rumor about even our own Thomas Partey. I don't know why that didn't happen. Maybe Thomas said, look, I prefer to be in my Arsenal. It was just one of the rumors that happened around transfer season. So to answer your question directly, that's where the yes side is surprised that the kind of players who are going there, not surprised because you can use football to do so many things.
Would you have advised Thomas to go?
Oh yes, I said it publicly. That had it been my brother, I would have said, Chanumu, don't play door. This you've got to go. Thomas is 30, all right, a year younger than Neymar. Look at the kind of money Neymar has commanded. And so when I've heard about the party, I think I even posted it on one of my social media spaces, my WhatsApp status, and a couple other places. If I was Thomas Partey's brother, I would say, bro, go. This is it's a life-changing quantum.
Everybody's thinking perhaps that the Saudis may not last because of what the Emiratis went through, what the Chinese went through. So this perhaps doesn't have longevity. You share that same opinion?
No, I don't. The reason why I don't is, like I said earlier on, the kinds of players and the points at which those players were in their careers. All right, I'm talking about those who went to the likes of the UAE, to China, and to Qatar. They had actually started declining. I can't remember any who was at the peak. You could say Asamoah Gyan may not have been at his topmost peak, but he was close enough to the peak. But I talked about Xavi. Xavi was done with the UAE. I think Iniesta went to a different country. CR7 is how old? 37. So one may say he is more towards that side. But the rest who are going there, no, they are much younger.
Neves is under 30.
It's under 30. You know, so it means that if they stay there, they'll stay there for much longer than the ones who went to the likes of the UAE, China, and Qatar.
Roberto Firmino
is there. Firmino, Bobby, these were mainstays of the EPL, exactly. And only 2 years ago they were pushing Liverpool to almost achieve the quadruple. Okay, so the points at which they are in their careers, if they are to stay in Saudi Arabia, they would have, I think, a much stronger impact, which will be longer lasting than what we saw in the other instances that we mentioned about the other countries such as the China, the UAE, and Qatar. So about longevity, I think that with the stock of players that are going to Saudi Arabia, we should be seeing a much longer track. There's also the factor I read, I can't remember, and so I'll not reference, that Saudi Arabia also have an intention to host a World Cup. When could that be? Seeing as how only last year, 2022, Qatar hosted the World Cup. So let's say the World Cup is done in 4-year cycles. And I remember there was a time under Sepp Blatter, former FIFA president, where the idea was to rotate the World Cup from region to region. And you have 6 football regions of the world. Okay, so you did Qatar, which is Arab, okay, and therefore Middle East, stroke Asia. You come to Africa. There's a bid that is a co-bid between Africa, I think the Iberian bid, where you've got the likes of, I think if it's Morocco, Morocco and Spain across that Mediterranean Ocean, looking to co-host. All right, you have the USA, Canada, and Mexico, which is the next one. So we've not told, and then you may be looking towards the southern hemispheres in Australia and New Zealand, and it's not inconceivable that having hosted the FIFA Women's World Cup, they might start looking in that direction. But let's say 3, 4, 5 cycles down the line, and by cycles I mean 4-year cycles of the World Cup, Saudi Arabia might be eligible. So if they're eligible in 5 cycles, that's 20 years down. So if you're bringing people in at the age of 20 something, or 29, 28, 30, 31, and they spend another 4 or 5 years there, they help to build a certain foundation. Okay, that could last, and it's not like having gotten this stock in, they are going to stop. In fact, it's like they only just started. So year in, year out, and so Jurgen Klopp made a comment that it is unfortunate. I'm not quoting verbatim, but the inference I drew from it was that it's unfortunate that Saudi Arabia's transfer window would close after the European transfer window. What that means, or the inference from there, is that they would have finished doing all their business in Europe. All right, and Saudi will still have space to do their business. And so players could actually hold out for much longer on contract negotiations with their current clubs in Europe, or with clubs that they want to migrate to within Europe. So it's impacting that market even in that way.
The English they seem to be quite scared of what
they ought to be. They ought to be scared. I mean, they've commanded. I mean, if you take out Real Madrid and Barca in Spain, in fact, Real Madrid more than Barca in Spain, all the big monies have been commanded from, or most of them have been commanded from the EPL. You've got a PSG who also came up again on what money? Arab money, or oil money.
Now, interestingly, I mean, I was making this observation that the Saudis seem to have planned this a while ago, because look, they are buying clubs in Europe.
That's right.
They've been into England now. They've bought Newcastle. You know, they are hoping to buy Man United. You know, if the Glazers go through that process, they're going to go through the next 2-3 months or so. That should be sorted. So then it would mean that they have 2 big clubs in England, Newcastle and Man United,
no less.
You know, I'm actually hoping they will buy an Arsenal. You know, so
you have that affinity. For many years now.
Yes. I'm
hoping loyalism is coming in.
I'm hoping they will throw some money into Arsenal, but realistically, it looks like they are sipping through gradually into the EPL. Apart from carrying their players, they are carrying coaches who are in the EPL. I mean, the former Wolves coach, he went to Tottenham.
That's right.
You know, now he's in
Saudi Arabia. Steven Gerrard.
Steven Gerrard is there. They were trying to get Silva. You know, and so they kind of like have some plan. You know, can they be stopped?
It will be very difficult to stop them. I would just hesitate to say yes or no, because in the realms of possibilities there might be. You know, FIFA have this FIFA Fair Play thing that operates continent by continent based upon certain indices. That's a way where I would say it might be stopped, or it could be. It's a possibility.
Or the introduction of an FFP.
Yes, the introduction of an FFP could slow them down, but stopping them, Fifi, I don't think it's in the realm of possibility. And I say so because money does so much. Look at who thought Qatar would even win the World Cup, let alone host it to the effect that we saw. And a lot of it was underpinned by the sheer volume all right, of resource, money that they could command or they had access
It's
to.
one of the best World Cups.
Yes, one of the best cups we've seen. So if Saudi Arabia have started on the same tack, who is to stop them? Who is to stop them? And like you rightly said, I pick a point from where you said it seems like they had a plan. I would reckon they had a plan. It would be a good research to carry out to see where is this coming from. Whilst we can see what it is they are doing, what plan underpins it, what objectives were set, all right, what milestones are we supposed to be looking out for, right? So all those, and it's about being deliberate. Yes, you can see that there's a deliberate move towards doing it. They've studied the dynamics that go around football, around sport for that matter. We mentioned other sports that they're into, but we are doing our football. So having studied it, they've decided that this is the way we ought to go. And I dare say when you go heavy into it, you can see the level of infrastructure that they have and are going to invest in. My prayer, all right, is that part of that plan will be how does Africa factor in there. All right, and I'm sure we'll come to that part of the conversation because we're talking about movements of players from Europe to Saudi Arabia for the kinds of sums that they command, because they have the sheer amount of money to spend. They might not need to invest that much in, say, a Premier League player out of Africa. All right, but that Premier League player could be a very good complementary support to those players that they are bringing from Western Europe. Okay, and so whilst it is the case that they are looking to bring those names to draw eyes, and because they brought those names, all the eyes are going there. I mean, media rights are going to start floating around their brands, their products, their football products. Who would want to watch Ronaldo in Saudi Arabia? Who doesn't want to watch a Bobby Firmino there? Who doesn't want to watch Kante there? Because we've seen them in the EPL, we've seen them in Western Europe. People have developed some affinity for those players.
Already, Star Times have done a 2-year acquisition of the rights of the Saudi Pro League.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes, Star Times have done so. So Star Times is actually
it's already there.
Yeah, it's already there.
It's already there.
So they have 2 years acquisition of exclusively.
So this Saudi migration thing, I was going to say it's having seismic effect on the football industry, and I think that if we position ourselves well in Africa, we could actually benefit some, if not even directly, indirectly.
Neil, let's move from. Let's look at apart from the migration side. Let's look at football valuation. You have done so much work in that regard. How are players valued? Is it by backgrounds, by continents, by where they come from, by ability, share ability, or by what? How are they valued?
It would be. I wish I could put weights on each side. Everything you mentioned factors into the equation, but there's sometimes where even it's a function of the bidding around the player. So you may put a certain valuation on the player using the criteria I talked about. Many a time, national team appearances factors very heavily there. Definitely share ability is there, and so based on that, you have the sports transfer market transfer market portal that will put a certain valuation there. It would also be driven by the levels at which the player has played before. What leagues has he played in before? Again, the player's own performance. So if, for instance, and today we are in a world where there's so much analytical information available, so you can use that's also used in pricing a player. But beyond that, if the player becomes the subject of a bidding war, wherever the valuation is like a base. Everything else that happens is just sheer bidding. It's like an auction, and at that point the valuation could go through the roof. That's really how the valuation works, and many players are seeing that they could actually tune the media in a way where their value appreciates, in my respectful view, over and above what they would ordinarily be valued at if they didn't become subjects of bidding wars. But then you also have clubs out there who are looking for a certain level of talent. They're looking to, for instance, if you let's take England as a case study, you've got a Manchester City that has commanded the kind of resources that they command for them to win, if I remember correctly, 5 Premier Leagues in 6 years. They finally put their hands on the Holy Grail. I thought Pep Guardiola was actually going to resign after he won it, but apparently he sees there's more.
He's hungry.
He's hungry. He's shown a certain level of hunger. That means we want to go more. Maybe now we've won it once, win it a second time, win it 3 times in a row. Then maybe I can go and take a small break. So when you have a Man City doing what they are doing, and consistently refreshing and renewing the team and spending. Look at how much they pay for Jack Grealish. 100 million pounds. You know, so when you have that kind of situation, the effect it has on the market is any other player that becomes the subject of a club's interest, the interest will be pegged against what was paid for Jack Grealish, for example, what was paid for so and so player. So look at Declan Rice, all right, going from West Ham to Arsenal. Question is, if the likes of Jack Grealish, who went from Villa, had not been bought for 100 million pounds, I doubt if Declan Rice would have been bought for the same 100 million pounds.
Do you think Jack Grealish deserved it?
I don't think so.
Do you think Declan Rice deserved it?
I don't think so. If I was doing evaluation, I'll put them like 40 thereabouts.
Do you think Moise Caicedo deserved 115 million?
That is where it comes to the point, Fifi, that it's about the bidding. It's at auction. Yako auction. You're at an auction. Okay, there's a Mercedes Benz available. I know you like Mercedes. And so there's a GL 450. All right, on auction. Fifi comes. Okay, I'm going to buy this for $100,000. Neil says no. I want this machine I want it for $115,000. And then another friend of ours say Bola, who is also he's a range guy.
Yeah.
Okay, any other Mercedes guy comes and then says, and so the bidding goes on and on and on and on, and then you get a Caicedo being bought for £150 million. I don't think he's worthy of that valuation. But it's because the market forces are there. It's a cost, and it's not only just supply and demand anymore. The economics will tell you, the fans of Adams economics will tell you that it's demand and supply. Beyond demand and supply is now more of bidding.
Yeah.
Yes, and so the highest bidder gets the player. Well, only last Friday, I thought we heard that Caicedo was a done deal for was it
Liverpool?
And then on the Monday afterwards, we hear that Chelsea trumped them and then go for the player. So the valuation today, for me, goes beyond what would ordinarily have been the case. The reason is there's so much more competition.
Doesn't matter where you come from.
As in continent you come from.
Yes, as to where you come from. If you're looking at English players, for example, one would probably be tempted to say English players are always almost overhyped and overpriced.
It does matter where
Nobody
you come
in his
from.
right sense of mind would buy a Harry Maguire from Leicester for 80 million.
Yes, at that time. Yeah.
Nobody in his right sense of mind will buy Declan Rice for 105 million.
Yeah, but when you say right sense of mind, you see the word right would mean at this time for them is the right sense of mind because the bidding is going on. So in other circumstances, I agree with you, they wouldn't have. But under the circumstances, the player is the subject of interest from 3-4 other clubs who command the resources. It's different from the days where the resources were not that.
Now every club is rich in England.
They're rich. You know, and
West Ham can buy a player from AC Milan.
Yes, and because we talked about the Saudi, let me call it the Arabian Gulf effect, all right, of Qatar having interest in some of this club, of UAE having the Fly Emirates, what do you call it, clubs are all United Arab Emirates,
of course,
of Etihad, which is Abu Dhabi, also from the United Arab Emirates, and then you are bringing in the Saudi influence now. There's 4 countries, resource rich, almost bottomless pit of resources. They can bid and outbid themselves. You see the smart thing the Saudis also did. They bought 4 clubs in the Saudi Pro League, and now they're transferring, say, a player from they recently transferred Saint Maximin.
Yes, from Newcastle
to one of those clubs,
and still paid money.
They paid money. So just to be sure that fair play was still at play, so that it wouldn't be like we cook a player in Newcastle
and then transfer
him to the Saudi Pro League. So the question was, does it matter where you come from? I say yes, it has mattered where you come from. If you even want to bring it down to maybe a slightly level, if they are buying a player out of Africa, they won't pay the same kind of.
Why are African players always at that value?
Because of the, let's call it the value of the football products on the continent itself. Okay, so arguably you're more,
because if we're taking it one by one,
yes,
if you take a player from Africa,
yes,
if it is talent, it can match anybody in this world.
Absolutely.
If it is ability,
it can match.
It can match anybody in this world.
Yes.
What else is left?
What else is left is the quality of the competition that you have faced on your continent. All right, and probably how many national team appearances you have had.
If it's national team,
if you're on the local scene, let's take Ghana. Maybe not the best example, but if you take Ghana, how many of the players have national team experience? If they are using that as part of the evaluation, all right, that particular box, if you're even taking it, you have much fewer national team appearances.
But you can even have a player from Brazil who has no national team appearance, yet he's valued more than an African.
And it comes back that for that one, the argument will be the quality of the competition in Brazil. It's far higher than the one that is in Africa. It's exponentially higher. So that's why I said all the factors come into play, but for different scenarios, a particular factor would reign higher or rank higher than another.
I was having an interesting conversation with our own friend Fifi Taki.
Yeah.
Right. And the issue about Mohamed Kudus came into the conversation.
Yes.
And I said to him that for me, value for value, money for money, talent for talent, ability for ability, forget where they both come from. Mohamed Kudus is far better than this United guy who came from Ajax.
Anthony.
Yeah. If I look at Kudus's final pass, if I look at Anthony's final pass, if I look at their efforts in the final third, if I look at both, I just did some data analysis on both of them. I feel that Kudus is far better a player and more impactful than
Anthony.
Anthony is more theatrical anyway.
Yeah.
But then, if you are putting value in terms of financial value on both players, Anthony will be purchased at a higher cost than Kudus. Why would such a story be so?
Yeah, so it comes back to
they're all coming from Ajax.
You're coming from Ajax?
They're all coming from Ajax. They've all come from Brazil to Ajax.
But originating from Ghana to Ajax. So the origination, for me, the point of origination.
But even the origination, he went through a lot of things. From the origination from Ghana, he ended up in Denmark. So he's gotten some base, and then moved to Ajax.
Brazil.
Brazil.
Yeah, and the thing is, almost like a default, almost as a default. Brazilian players, maybe from history, have always had a higher valuation than many other parts of the world. And we've always said Brazil is the mecca of football.
Yeah.
And so it will be, for me, it's for that particular comparison, or the context of that comparison, it would be a point of origination or country of origin. Brazil would more often than not, or virtually always, be ranked higher than any other African country and many other countries of the world for that matter. And so an Anthony would be looked at in those terms. And you see, they've also, although there's still a lot of talent in Brazil that doesn't even get to the limelight, they've put in place a structure where many more of them are discovered earlier. They have academy systems that discover the boys earlier and prepare them better. And Kudus was blessed to be discovered in the Right to Dream system, which is sort of mirroring what we see over there. But the general situation of the country of origin, all right, is where I think Kudus might be valued a bit less than. But if Kudus becomes the subject of a bidding war, all right, I dare say that point of origination argument will be thrown out of the window.
I hear West Ham are trying to get Kudus now. Brighton were interested. Yes, but Kudus, I understand, was not interested in the Brighton deal. He was rather interested in the West Ham deal, which I thought, well, Brighton would have been a better place for him than West Ham. I will come to that, but I think we have Yusuf Chipsa.
Oh, he joined. Okay.
To join us. Good afternoon, Chipsa. Good afternoon, Chipsa. Can you hear me?
I see his picture. I see him there.
Yeah.
On the screen.
Chipsa, can you hear me? I can't hear him from here. Yeah, but I can't hear him from here. Hello?
Yes, hello, I can hear you.
Okay, I can hear you now.
Yep.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Good to see you and good to have you on the show. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me too, and good to see you too.
Right, I'm here with a bald head Neil Armstrong Motagbe. So.
How have you been?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Right, Chipsa, we are looking at the Saudi migration and the kind of value people put on players. You have worked with players all along and all of that. Let me find out from you. First of all, are you surprised at what the Saudis are doing in the world of football?
Thank you very much, and good afternoon to your listeners. I am not much surprised because it's a strategic attempt as part of their Vision 2030. I mean, to try and invest in different sectors. And so this is something that has been planned by the Saudis, and it's not something that just came out of nowhere. So for me, it's a strategic move, and therefore it doesn't surprise me. They really know exactly what they are doing and what they are after.
In terms of the other aspect of it, where even younger players are migrating from Europe to the Saudi League. I mean, Neil made an important point here that back in the day, during the Emirati surgeon, and then during the Chinese surgeon, you would find players who are actually at the twilight of their career moving into these places. But now you are finding even younger players, Ruben Neves, Khalid Koulibaly, all those players who are younger, I mean 30, 31, thereabout, moving into those leagues. Is it just the money that's attracting them?
I think this is one of the perceptions that the Saudis intend to change. That the Gulf area or Saudi Arabia is the destination for players getting to the end of their career or players that are retiring. This is one of the perceptions that they want to change, and is the more reason why they are not only targeting those players getting to the end of their career, but also young players. At the end of the day, football is a profession, and it has evolved to a stage that you don't undermine certain countries. Gone were the days when, I mean, as you said, a young player will never ever go to a certain destination, irrespective of how much he is making. But we've come to realize that, man, this is what you do, this is your job. At the end of the day, you will retire one day. It's either you leave football or football leaves you. And what is next? Life must continue. It's up to what you have and what kind of investment you've made. It's not about fame. Yeah, you enjoy the fame whilst you are playing, but after you've ended your career, fame doesn't come in anymore. It's about how much you've been able to save and how much you've been able to invest. So I think education-wise, people are waking up to the reality that, hey, make hay while the sun shines. Irrespective of your age, if the opportunity presents itself, why not? Take advantage of it, and then plan your career and your life ahead. So the Saudis are trying to change this perception, and I think it's going to pose a big threat to the European leagues.
First of all, let me also ask again that if you look at how they are planning their stuff, are you not scared that it will become another Emirates or another Chinese kind of football?
Yeah, there are certain indicators which are in favor of this. But then, like I said, we also saw that the Saudis are also planning to host the next World Cup. So it's something that they are really confident of achieving whatever target or goal that they've set for themselves. At the end of the day, as I said, every player who decides to move to Saudi Arabia has also got his objectives and goals. So at the end of the day, both parties will be satisfied. If you decide to go there, you are going there for a goal or for an aim. And the club is also bringing you in for a certain goal or aim. So it's more like we are concerned. Those of us outside are trying to find answers to certain questions. But I mean, the key players or the parties involved are all serving their purposes. They all have their reasons why they are accepting those offers.
Chief, what goes into, Neil has given us an idea of what goes into the valuation of players. What for you as an agent, for you as somebody who is a talent manager and all of that, what goes into the valuation of players? For example, Why would Declan Rice cost 105? Why would Moises Caicedo cost 115 million? Why would a certain Harry Maguire cost even 40 million to West Ham? Why the valuation of players? How do you think is considered?
There are certain key factors that goes into consideration, like the age, the league that you play in, your nationality, your experience, and the duration of your contract. So these are key factors. But then there are other factors that are as a reason of circumstances. It's more or less like the demand and supply forces. If there are 4 or 5 clubs vying for the signature of a player at a particular moment, obviously the price will shoot up. So these are certain factors that are not constant, but they in turn affect the valuation of a player at a particular situation or condition.
Why are African players valued less all the time?
This is a very good question. Goes a long way to affect us, even if the player is playing in Europe. It's a whole lot of factors, as I said. If you consider an African player and a South American player, I think the difference also comes from how our leagues are structured and organized. If you are selling an African player from Africa and a South American player from South America, obviously the South American player always gets a higher bid or higher valuation than African player, because we don't invest much in our players. Now, I can give you 2 examples of African countries where the situations or the scenarios are different. If you take a player from West Africa, I don't want to mention any country, and a player from northern part of Africa. Northern part of African clubs or countries are able to sell at higher values than the western part. Why? Because they invest a lot into the game. So they are able to justify the quotations that they make for the players. Within North Africa, you can find a domestic transfer valued at $2 million, $1.5 million, $1 million. You can't find such transfers western part of Africa or outside of Africa. Why? Because the investment going into the game is high up over there than our place. Players are paid well, infrastructure is of high standard, and therefore all these factors also contribute to the valuation of the player.
So those are the reasons why African players are valued less.
Go to the northern part of Africa, they are able to at least match the Europeans and the South Americans a little bit more than our part. And for me, that is why I see the difference, because northern part of Africa is still Africa. So entirely, or in generality, we don't say all African players.
Right.
Because we get some northern African players who are more valued even than South American players or some European players. But in generality, we are still on the lower side. So, it's high time we need to look at the investment that we put in the sport. We need to look at that critically. We need to start taking good care of the players. We need to invest in our infrastructure as well.
I know you are staying in Europe for the period of the transfer window still opened. Are you hoping to do some business, sending some players into Saudi?
Together with some partners, we've done 1 or 2 already. We are still looking forward to do some more since the window is still open.
All right, if you're looking for a player to take to Saudi, Neil Armstrong is here. He's been training a lot these days when he started hearing of the amount of money going to Saudi Arabia. So maybe you can consider him as a goalkeeper.
Hey, you want to spoil Chipster's business? Yeah, that's an interesting one. You know?
James, I would like to thank you so much for your time today. We know we've taken a bit of your time. You're busy out there in the UK, but I would like to thank you for your time. And you get back here safely, and let's talk some more football.
Sure.
Thank you so much, Fifi, and thanks for having me.
Yeah. All right, Capito, see you.
Hi, Neil. We'll keep in touch.
All right.
All right, sure. We'll keep in touch. All right, so that's Yusuf Chipsa. He's a former national team player. He captained the Black Meteors as well. He played for Kumasi Asante Kotoko as well. He had a sojourn in Sweden and other places. So he's one of those prominent guys.
He actually was one of the squad that qualified us to our first World Cup in 2006.
Yes, 2006.
He was in Germany for the tournament, but he wasn't part of the playing squad. Yes, you see,
and he's educated himself very well too.
Absolutely.
And one day, watch out for Neil and Chipsa at the FA at the top post.
Inshallah.
It's going to happen one of these days.
It's very possible.
Yes, it's possible.
Yeah, it's possible.
Before we end our conversation, I'll find out from you where Hearts of Oak is at the moment. I hear.
Oh, the last season Hearts were 12th. That is where Hearts were at that time. But going beyond last season, we see the signs of some potential resurrection in the coming season. Again,
you guys have a new coach?
Yes, I think he's an expatriate.
He's a Dutch.
He's a Dutch. There's a technical director who is also a Dutch.
Yes, something Hiddink.
Yes,
not Goose Hiddink.
René Hiddink.
Yes.
So I was talking about the infrastructure side, where I believe over the last couple of years, the Toby Afede-led board have had a very heavy focus. It's clear that there's been a focus on let's get.
I saw videos of Pobiman.
Oh yeah, it's looking good.
Looking very
good. Looking good. Even the if you add the secretariat, the new look secretariat, we pulled down the old one, and are raising, I think, a 4-story building right opposite.
So it's looking like he's concentrating on infrastructure, building it from the base.
Yes, more like he sees that as part of our fundamental sides that need to be worked on, while still working on the field side. Because obviously for the fan, the average Hearts of Oak fan or average football fan is the results on the field of play. But I think it's also uncharitable where you find some fans saying, is it the secretariat? I mean, translating literally from tree, a secretariat nebidi. You know, you are more like spiting infrastructure for a club that's over 110-year-old club, and where he's taking us to as far as the infrastructure is concerned is so commendable.
It's a primitive mindset, to say the least.
So I'll just use the opportunity to say let's give honor where it's due. Let's give respect also where it's due, and where we feel that there are areas that could be improved, bring constructive.
You have a CEO now. You have a new CEO.
He's been the acting CEO.
There's a lady also that I saw.
But she, I think, carries the title of a general manager or acting general manager, to the best of my knowledge. But I'm looking forward to a resurgent Hearts of Oak in the coming season, and hopefully some completions, or hopefully a completion of the secretariat. It's gone up quite fast, but you and I know that in building, the finishing is where sometimes you have some delays. But it's a refreshing feeling to have that level of infrastructure for a club of the stature of Hearts of Oak, and the hope is that the on-field performances would match the level of interest that the infrastructure has sparked throughout the footballing fraternity.
Well, somebody just sent a message. It says Agbeko Kujawu says it's all about the market forces when it has to do with the players.
The valuation.
The valuation of the players. Somebody says that, well, maybe FIFA have themselves been bought by the Saudis. Hey, that's a serious allegation.
That's a major allegation.
We know that in the realms of football,
everything is possible.
Otherwise, FIFA would not be clamped down for all those malfeasance and things like that happens in our football. But is there corruption in our football that much? Globally,
I would say there's a perception of corruption. And you see, it's
now,
only
now you have won your political hat.
No, it's only when you discover what is happening that you can then say emphatically that there is corruption. All right, there have been instances where people have been exposed for corrupt practices. Obviously, that is an admission that one is quick to make. But the level to which the perception is prevalent doesn't match the actual incidences that we've seen, and that's why I talked about the perception side. But yeah, I mean, if you look at what happened with a few ex-FIFA officials under Sepp Blatter, they were clearly exposed and had
Yeah.
to lose. Yeah, but they became subjects of Swiss investigations. I think some of them actually have been in court. I can't say or admit that I followed the path of that, but that just shows there was a Chuck Glazer. No, was it Blazer? Yes,
Blazer, yeah.
Who was involved also
Jack
in
Warner, all those people.
They all had their FIFA roles stripped from them, and then they were subjects of criminal prosecution. Yeah.
Somebody says that the English have spoiled the transfer market, and they are being paid in their own coin.
Yeah. That one I agree with Pa.
Oh
yeah.
Because they would go somewhere and pick a
player. And so now somebody's showing that if you say you get money, we too got money.
Okay, somebody is also saying that please tell the whole world to come to Ghana and together with Neil and others help salvage Ghana football from the Odo River. Oh, really?
Oh, is it that bad? Is it that bad?
But to be honest, it's bad.
Oh, I think that I always go the way of whether the glass is half full or it's half empty. You know me from long. I've always been the optimist.
A Norman Vincent approach.
Yeah, I've always been like that, and I just try to find in as much as there might be darkness, where is that thread of light? And I think that there are some threads of light if only we can really deliberately do what we know we can do. Because I always say it's about the will to do. As for the knowledge to do, we have it in abundance in so many people, but it's the willingness to do it. And then very importantly, the perception or the paradigms with which those of my colleagues and I working in football work with. And I say so because there are times where, and FA, not even this administration, under Mr. Kwesi Nyantakyi, we had a broadcast rights partner. All right, and I always give this example to say, whilst we may look at leadership, let's also look at us ourselves. You have a broadcast partner, sign a deal with the Football Association to cover a football game live. The person goes there, for whatever reason, the home team says, we will not allow you to televise the match. How does then the FA, the mother body, help to further develop the game? So it's about the people, we the people who work within the industry, having a paradigm shift from 3 points and whatever else it is that has been holding us back, to say let's liberate our thinking and say the more we support leadership, because leadership must also be held to account for where they ought to be held account to, but for us the people, let us help in creating that environment that attracts so much more resource. You see, Chipster talked about the investment in the game. The investment in the game can even be a point where as a club owner, he spent so many years nurturing players, gets a bumper harvest, all right, and says, okay, this is my payback time, and instead of taking a significant part of that to reinvest in his club, he goes and buys an SUV, he goes and buys a house. I'm not saying it's wrong, but say maybe buy a house of a slightly lower level, so you reinvest, increase the amount of money you can pay your players, they stay here longer, the quality of competition is stronger, the value of the league is enhanced, and what happens is a club coming from outside there is willing to pay much more than they're willing to pay today.
Neil, I mean, some of these things, I have seen many examples of. I mean, you're talking about the mindset.
Yes, it's a
Do you think that we have too many educably illiterate football people?
Well, I'm also a student of research, and I would maybe plead which one is it, the Fourth or the Fifth Amendment? The Fifth Amendment here, and say, give it to me as a project to do a research on the let me call it the backgrounds and experiences of people who are running the game at different levels. But as a general comment, I would say even sometimes those who we call the more educated, who you'd expect to act in a certain way, they actually even fuel the primitive conduct. Then there's a disconnect between it. It becomes more of a character thing, a mindset thing, than even whether you are schooled or not.
There are times that I have actually heard or some of these stories about some of the TV right partner, for example, going to cover a game, or probably somebody calls from the FA to one of the clubs to say to the TV rights partners that you've been covering our matches too much, so because of that we can't do ways and means, so stop covering our games.
I mean, think about it, Fifi. I, a club owner, I'm not investing in a camera. I'm not investing in paying the cameraman. I've got free video footage, and video footage is one of the reasons why sometimes our players don't even get the kind of work they get. You watch a video of a player of a level similar to somebody, maybe from, we talked about talent level from Brazil, and put that video against what we can show, and the production values, they are exponentially different. Exponentially meaning theirs are far higher. It sells the player better. But here you have a person saying that because of ways and means, let's call it goals. Some people call it technical too. Some people call it operations. Because of that, and what is the whole interest in that? It is to ensure that we win the game. So we want to engage in certain practices, and because of those practices we want to engage in, we will not allow our players, we will not allow our clubs to have the opportunity to get material and content that, when packaged well, will market our player. And so we cannot sell our players because we don't have the quality content that will help to sell them. And then we turn back and say, we need money from who?
Recently, you were part of a project that my friends at Joy FM put together recently.
Yes, the research, yes.
A research to talk about what will bring back people into the stadium and all of that, which I thought was a brilliant project that Multimedia embarked upon, Nat and Co. embarked upon. One of the things that it's a bother, to me and to many football pundits, is this thing about we are football people, so you cannot come in and dictate to us how we should run our game. Is it a fair point to make from the football people's point of view that they are the ones who invest in football, and therefore you, the media, you, the other stakeholders, don't have anything to say, let us run it the way we want it? Yet they come behind the scenes, talk to us, and tell us how bad football is being run.
So just picking from the end point of where you landed, I would say it's if you are interested in the development of your business, you'll be looking at getting buy-in from as many stakeholders as possible. And what stronger stakeholder do you get than the media? You get it. So it's when the statement is made like that, it reminds me of an English word that my English madam, who today is the Chief Justice of the Republic, she taught me English in Form 4 at Motor School. Oxymoron. So it's one side of the phrase contradicting the other side. That's how I see that picture. I'm a football person. I'm very media friendly. I'm media friendly because I know what the media can do.
Because you have a media background.
Yes. So
you're strategically a research person. So you understand what the media does.
The media can.
That's why I asked the question about whether we have too many educably illiterate people in our football.
Well, I did tell you that it's more paradigms, because that's what the educably illiterate. I'm not sure. It's really mindset. That's how I see it. It's more mindset than that. And I gave the reason being that there's so many people in our game, background solid, knowledge of theory solid, implementation of practice
zero.
And that's why I say it's more a paradigm and a mindset thing than the prevalence or the prevalence of a lot of educably illiterate people.
How would you rate the current FA?
Rating?
Yeah, on a scale of 0 to 10.
0 to 10. I'd like to use metrics, and I don't have as many metrics as I wanted to have here. But you could say national teams, you could say perception of those who operate within the industry, and then maybe perception. The national teams is really the barometer by which a lot of people measure the performance of an FA. All right, and so on that score, you find the general public rating the FA low, because of the fact that over the last few years, and indeed even before normalization, we did have our challenges. But the people who work in the game, you talk to them, and we are going towards an election.
But don't forget that during the normalization, the national team got to the quarter or semi-finals of AFCON.
Yeah, but there are those who
and our clubs got, even during normalization, our clubs got to the group stages of the Champions League.
Yeah, but if you get to a group stage, is it a function of the quality of the football of the administration?
No, so it means that after normalization, we have abnormalized.
No.
By retrogressing.
If you look before normalization, I'll give you an example. One of the debates that the guy came up with. That in 2014, did we go to the World Cup?
No.
2018, did we go to the World Cup?
2018,
did we go to the World Cup? 2020, did we go to the World Cup?
Yes.
So they will tell you that at that point, there's also some appreciation. And that's why I'm saying that without the benefit of as many metrics as I think I should have to do a proper rating, it will be guesstimate, all right, what impact they've had. Again, I see a lot of material coming out of the FA related to what has been done with the clubs, with the members of the association. Women's Premier League clubs. The other day, when Mr. Kreku was going to file his nomination, you see the crowd that came there. Somebody says, is this sycophantic or is it genuine appreciation for what they've done? So there's a so when I saw the crowd, I said, there's this song, an old song, "Who feels it knows it best," which comes back to the football people matter. That is, they feel it, they are in it. All right, but beyond them feeling it, the nation also feels it. It's the passion of the nation. And that's where I always place a call to my friends in football, my colleagues in football. I work in the game. I've done too much with the Football Association not to know that the notion you share is a notion that's widely held by people who work in the game. All right, but it's time for us to look at the stakeholders and see everybody in this. You see, we talk when Keto Kreku talks about the football ecosystem, and I've asked him before. He has mentioned media. He has mentioned the general population. So if we are mentioning that these people are key components of the ecosystem, how are we building the rapprochement that is required to get them to work? And if he does get a renewed mandate, I would strongly suggest that should be where a lot of the work goes.
Neil Armstrong Mortagbe is a consultant to FIFA. He is also a die-in-the-wool heart of folk man. He told us
that one is very important.
Yes, a die-in-the-wool heart of folk. So
Heart of Folk fan,
yes. He's a member of the Heart of Folk team, and definitely he's done many works as far as football research is concerned. And we were glad to have him in the studio this afternoon to speak about the valuation of our players here, because our players are not as valued as we hope probably they would be. But he's given us all the dynamics as to why our players are not valued as much as they should. Neil, I'd like to thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure.
Thank you for the fact that I called and you said, "Oh, bro, I'm on my way."
That's it.
Thank you so much. We'll do this again, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
At another time. Yeah. So, and to Yusuf Chipsar as well, thank you so much. He's in the UK currently. We want to thank you very much for your time as well on this show. Definitely, we will come back again with another edition of Unlimited Sports right here on Fifi Banson TV. Keep sharing the link. Keep sharing. There's a lot more coming up right here. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good afternoon.
Four beautiful women. The mommy's boy.
Hello, Ma. Can you imagine the junk Becca's made me for breakfast? Do you know the ratio of men to women in Ghana? It is 1 man to every 6 women.
The faithful married man.
This is your 40th birthday. You just need to let your hair down and have some fun.
I'm sorry if I'm disappointing you. I will not cheat on my wife.
The annoying ex-husband.
I want to see my son.
Elam is already in school. You'll see him over the weekend. Now go.
My wife here is a good cook.
Ex-wife.
You must be Elam's father.
ABN presents Escapade.
Next time you're sent on an adult job, drop your diapers and bring back an adult result.
Escapades. The real stories begins on Fifi Banson TV.